Hey guys, it's John. In this video, I want to run through how you get your first 10K month. This is applicable if you've never started before, if you're currently online coaching, or if you're stuck at a certain income bracket. I'm going to break down the exact strategies that I use with my clients to get them to their first 10K and what I've used myself. So there's several things you've got to go through, and I want to give you the practical tips towards the end where you know the strategy, framework, and layout of what you need to do. We're going to go over the maths of it, and then you know the areas of most importance and do it in a way that's, I'd say, linear or just like a step-by-step fashion. So I'm trying to pack everything into this video so it will clear up a lot of questions that you might have, and it'll give you an area of what your potential bottleneck might be, but also what you need to go away and do in action. So let's get into it. Now, first off, you need to decide what you're going to charge. That's like a big part of it. And a lot of people consider the idea of going high ticket, low ticket. What the hell is high ticket, low ticket? Well, high ticket, typically it's, I think anything high ticket wise is if you're charging sort of £1,500 for 3 months or slightly over that. It's the idea of charging like above 300 quid or $300, depending on which market you're in. But if you're going over that bracket, and you have to provide quite a lot. You have to have great expertise. You have to have positioning and authority in your marketplace, or you have to be really good at sales. And people are attracted to high ticket because look, you only need how many 6 sales a month on paid in full, and you're sorted. But I don't think you're going to get the conversion, to be honest, if you're just starting out, because our sales skills aren't great at when we first start out. We're coaches at the end of the day, or we might not have the experience if we're just starting out, so we don't have the positioning. Low ticket, on the other hand, I think that's typically anything under 50 quid a month, and again, I wouldn't charge that anyway for like mid. I wouldn't charge anywhere between 50 and 100. I would charge between 150 and 250 per calendar month for for working like on a semi one-on-one basis for a traditional coaching on a one-to-one. Low ticket is probably like group style, where you reduce the volume of check-ins. You'd probably do group calls, and that could be anywhere between £0 and £100. Well, obviously not £0. That's charity. I mean, we want to give back, right? But we want to get paid in the time. So low ticket I'd avoid because most people don't have the volume. Again, if you're just starting out and you have an audience under sort of 50,000, low ticket might not be useful for you. Most people can get to 10K per month if they had an audience under sort of like 2,000, 3,000 by following this method. And again, the reason I'm breaking down the maths here is I think it's quite exciting, the fact that a lot of people with not huge amounts of exposure can get to high income months. And I got a lot of people who got to sort of, well, one of my clients, he's got 2,700 followers, and he's earning just shy of 20K per month. So you don't need massive exposure. You don't need massive of followers. You just need a bit of a system to convert the followers. And you will find us how we can kind of breach beyond our own following shortly, because you can leverage other people's followings and other markets there. You don't need just to kind of go for a growth, Instagram growth. Now, I think mid-ticket, basically. So don't go for too high. Don't go for low if you don't have the volume. Go for mid. Anywhere between 150 and 250 is very reasonable. Pick your price point, but you'll have success in that. You can find the sweet spot. And then it's worth coming up with something called like a commit and save offer. So this is where we're going to offer paid in full for 6 months, I would say. You could do 3 months, but I don't like 3 months. I'm not going to cover it right now in this video. There's a video I've got on retention, improving your retention from 12 weeks to 12 months. 3 months is a definite junction we want to avoid. So I would just do 6 months or 12 months. But for most, 6 months is a really good sweet spot. And then you'd have a price for 6 months of service versus monthly. Now, there's a good way to structure this, because if you, let's just say we're going to pick 150 as our monthly price point. Well, you could actually offer that if people commit to paying up front and they drop down, and then you could put a slightly higher rate for your monthly if they're starting off at monthly. So the way I like to calculate this first figure here, which is the 6 month option, is right. It's basically 6 months for the price of 5. So if you have, if they want to drop down to 150, I'd probably increase that. It could be 170, 175. I would times that by 5 to get this figure here, and then I would drop down to the original price that you were thinking of charging, the 150. So the way I communicate this is, look, your goal is going to take 8 months realistically to get you to X, Y, Z, use their words. Now, I do offer like savings if people commit to the process. So 6 months, if you commit to 6 months minimum, you save $170. And the good news as well is you drop down onto a better rate afterwards. So from that point onwards, after it drops down at the discount rate of $150 per month. You can pay that $749 up front if you want in one lump sum, or we can split that interest free. You use a payment splitter, or we can split that interest free, completely up to you. So you incentivize people to kind of go, well, if I save money anyway, I don't have to pay the lump sum and I get the discounted rate, that makes sense. So you can offer that out. But if people can't go with that option for whatever reason, their circumstance, their cash flow, whatever, you just offer a slightly higher rate from day one where they're paying monthly. So it's a good balance, and I'd recommend like a 80-20 split. 80 clients having on monthly regular payments where you have monthly income coming in every single month, and then you can get a couple of these bumping up if you can aim for those. And it typically works out at that, they call it the Pareto distribution, 80-20 principle, where you will have sort of 20% of people aim for that, the paid in full, and then the majority on there. And then that way, you know, a couple of those can help bump up towards that. But I don't like relying on paid in full, to be honest. I like to have all of this income coming in from monthlies and their bonuses on top. I think it works better that way. And I think that is true. A true 10K per month is on monthly rolling. So anyway, my point is, don't be realistic. I know it's attractive to get higher ticket, but don't waste long months and years trying to push something which people aren't going to convert on. You don't probably have the volume for low ticket. Pick mid, offer 2 options, and then that way you can get people in for longer time, because we'll find out retention, just how important that is when it comes to increasing your income to that figure. This is my own personal way of doing it. And again, I know it helps a lot more people scale when we optimize the back end. And speaking of back ends, hey now, this is the framework. So basically, what does 12 months of your service look like? And it's actually worth doing this for, I'd say 2 years, really. If you really want to go for it, you want to have a 6-month goal, you want to have a 2-year goal for your clients, because a 6-month goal is realistically the goal that they've got in their heads, they're thinking about. A 2-year goal is them going through adding more, going through a bit more of like a bulking phase, so they have more muscle mass, and then cutting down again. So it's them like 2.0. You always want to have that lined up. But the clear thing you want to have ready is a roadmap and a framework of the phases that people go through. The reasons you want to have that is because it can start to kind of inform some of the marketing. We're going to use this in your content. We're going to use this when you talk to people, but you just need to know where you stand. And a good part for this to look at is literally, if we've got months here and you've got 12 months, so we've actually gone to 18 here. If you can break out each phase and give the targets and objectives and the benefits of each phase, you're going to help convert more people for a longer time. Because look, we can get them financially incentivized to stay for 6 months, but nothing beats monthly rolling where they're used to paying that, they're now conditioned to investing into their health and not McDonald's and not eating out and not loads of coffees. I mean, we love coffee. You can have both, but at the end of the day, once people are conditioned to investing and spending with a coach and someone like yourself, and you have the horizon laid out continually, that is where you can get really good client lifetime value, really good retention, 2 years, 3 years with clients. And I mean, look at it this way. Think about that. If each client that signed up with you, they stayed for 2 years, where would that take you? How easy would life be? And it comes down to forecasting and road mapping. So in this example, just to avoid that 3-month junction, which I personally hate, the 12 weeks, because everyone's conditioned with 12-week funnels and 12-week challenges, 90 days, is if you do 4 months worth of a deficit phase, then you reverse out for 6 weeks, that kind of takes them towards the 6-month mark. And off the back of that, the reversing out, you should really be able to sell, because they've lost the weight, they're lean. Now they need to exit the diet properly, otherwise they're going to put the weight back on. Plus, it's the best they're going to look, because they start to fill up, glycogen comes back in, they're lean, but they're full now, and it looks really, really good. And then off the back of that, there's also a phase where they're insulin sensitive, you're conditioned to build muscle more quickly because you're insulin sensitive. So, you know, in this period here, it should be bloody exciting for someone, particularly men, but even women, you can communicate this because it's not being bulky. It's about getting that athletic physique, and it's exiting the treadmill of high activity, low calorie lifestyle, and breaking them into the freedom of where they can eat so much more and still burn fat sitting on their ass because they have more muscle mass. So this period here should be exciting. And for men, it's obvious. It's like, well, when you're insulin sensitive, you're going to put on more muscle mass within a greatly reduced period of time compared to when you weren't before. Like, it might take you a whole year to put on the same level of muscle mass that you can do in 8 to 12 weeks when you're hypersensitive. Really exciting. Plus, you can tell it because you're lean. So get used to selling the phases after that initial deficit, because that can convert people into longer term. And when you're in longer term, I know for a fact, due to the data and the statistics I've measured through my client base, this is 400 people. If you can keep people for 6 months, they're more likely to stay towards 12 versus people exiting at 3. It's that psychology you're breaking, again, mainly for lifestyle market. Other markets who are more advanced will know, but once you break the psychology and people realize it's that process of adding on tissue, losing the fat, adding on more muscle tissue, and going and morphing and changing, and the volume's changing, the adaptation's changing, the digestion is fixing. It's just this continual relationship which is creating a new person. Simple as that. So get used to selling it. And then what I like to do, my advice going through different coaches to learn the industry from a client perspective, is breaking down the bulk. So if this period here is 9 months of just on a massing phase, like adding on tissue, the client's not going to notice if they're adding on incrementally all over their body. They might notice their strength go up, plus the body fat going up. It might be hard for them to tell. So what we want to do is we want to break it into mini mesocycles where they have clear objectives for each phase. And then that way they can hyper-focus. We can portion volume towards a muscle group. Mainly, what do you want? Chest, delts, arms. Okay, we're going to work on top line. Top line for the first one. Second one, we're going to think about from the side. That's rear delt, that's hamstring work, and that's lats. And then we're going to tidy up and see where we're looking to kind of a harmonizing phase. But you have clear objectives. If you can show pictures before they even enter that on another client, it's even better. But that way, it's little stepping stones to make them excited. And then off the back of that, there's a deficit. Very, very easy, because you're now going to reveal all the hard work you've just done. Deficit phases, you'll hold on to clients no problem, because that's a really exciting runway towards revealing all the work. It's this phase here. And the reversing out, you need to be good at selling, and you need to be good at communicating the benefits and the value of those points and why they need to do it. But once you do that, you can hold on to people. And our target here is 8 months. So right in the midpoint of 6 and 12, we want to kind of aim, if we can get 8 months with each client we take on, or if we can get 9 would even be even better, but I've kind of gone, right, if we get 8 months with each client we take on, your yearly target now over the entire year is 100 clients. Because if you can get 100 clients on and they stay for an average of 8 months, that is 120 a year. That's 10 a month. Now, the other maths of this is, if you just had 12-week packages and you struggled to kind of keep people on after 12 weeks or 90-day funnels, you would need 287, I think it is. It's almost 300 clients. And for most people, when you don't have the exposure and we don't have the skill in content, we don't have the ability to get leads like that and draw people in, to do it 100 times is exhausting. Whereas if we can leverage other people's audiences, which we'll get onto, so we don't even have to do this all ourselves, but if we can average about 2 inquiries a week, 2 sign-ups per week, and again, I've added in a referral there, because once we get into it and how we work with and build relationships with clients, that's very, very realistic. But you see how just how accessible this becomes when you hold on to people for longer. So this framework is really, really important. But once you have the framework, we now have a target for us to hit. The referrals is all about building relationships when you have more time with clients. And again, you'll actually find that you get, obviously, the more time you have with clients, the better results you get. The better results will attract more people indirectly off your content. And then the better the client feels and the more time you have to kind of build that rapport in the relationship, you're naturally going to draw in more referrals, because word of mouth is powerful. The more this industry expands, the more trust is important, the more authenticity is important. We talk about personal branding on story content, which is great, but other people's word is even better. So this is a bonus. You know, we're going to put that in the background because that will help us if we let's just say we get 2 inquiries, we miss one every now and then, this will tidy it up. But that's our goal. We now need 1.9 clients signing up with us every single week, and this is starting from scratch. So how do we do it? Now, first, most important thing is, how do you present yourself? In your bio, what do things look like? So there is 0 point putting a lot of effort into content if we don't set up shop and this bio doesn't resonate with who we're trying to attract, and it doesn't resonate with what we say here and the offer we produce. So are you calling out your target market? Are you calling out the main pain point that people want solving? Are you giving some angle of how you do it? Are you showing any experience, any validation, even if it's just yourself? What's the evidence? And then is there a call to action? Is there a call to action inside? If there's a click see more button that's at the very end because you've got discount codes for companies who don't care about you, put the call to action higher, because when I land, or when people land on here, that needs to be visible. We can't expect people to click on that button. And another thing is I think it's 98%, it's between 98 and 97% of people don't scroll below the top 3 pinned posts. They land on here. So the importance of the bio is significantly higher than just regular content, because it's people's first perception of you. So what are your pinned posts? Can I watch a video on how your service works? Can it include something like this? So I can clearly see how you're different. I can clearly see what other people get. I can see results right next to me watching a video you explain about this, and all in one point of contact. I see one reel, I come and look at you, and then all of a sudden, wow, I didn't realize that's what it takes. Didn't realize that's what we need, that's included. And off the back of that, what's the evidence? Where's the proof? Client results. Show off your best work. A lot of people just don't put a carousel slide all their best results on. They just have 1 or 2. It's like, show off your best, and then something about you maybe. But all of a sudden, if we optimize the bio and people landing it after seeing you off one reel or randomly off a collaboration post, that one point of contact is going to be so much more valuable because they're so much more informed, and it's no longer going to take 35 points of contact to build trust. It might take 7, 8, or even one with the right person. You just got to make sure that we're optimizing that. So that's obviously important. And then we're going to look at content. So this then comes down into posting out pretty much daily or every other day, useful information or just things about you that resonate. So where is the pain in the market? What do people care about? There is 0 point in you talking about stuff and covering things where people don't care and they're not interested. And again, I spent 7 years in a biotech company selling products that were genuinely terrible and no one cared. And one of them was a vape liquid. I went around selling it, had this weird compound in, make your tongue vibrate. It sounds really dodgy. It probably was. Close some Italian guy's lungs on a convention. Terrifying. So we were trying to sell that and no one cared. And then the one time I went around to a wholesaler, I just said, what do you want? I said, mate, I want tangerine, I want lemon, and I want this. I want blue raspberry. I was like, right, okay. If I make that for you, what do you want? Yeah, I'll buy 6 grand's worth. I was like, cool, done. Instantly did 6 months worth of revenue compared to the old product because I gave them what they wanted. Very tangential, random story. But the point is, talk and cover things that people are interested in wanting to know. Find where's the pain, where's the issue in the market. Once you have that, very, very simple, just covering a very loose look of content, a 3-pillar approach. Talk about the problems. So a third of your content should be talking about those problems and how people overcome them, how you've overcome them, and just resonating with them and just seeing what you can do to just talk about stuff people are interested in and want to know, and that'll draw interest to your page. And then the other third of the content is show your roadmap. This is something people always miss. They always miss it. Right, now that I know what you're talking about, now that you've drawn me to your page talking about the problems, what happens next? What's the solution? I've got blue balls. What are you going to do? Right, show this is it. This is the framework. This is what you do next. It's like, okay, here are the issues. I know, resonate with them. People lean forward. They want to know. Next bit of content should show how you actually solve those issues. How do you address it? What do you do? How does your service work? All that sort of stuff. Showing this as the solution to those issues, they start to kind of go, right, okay. It's just no one does it. They just continue to talk about the problems and wonder why no one inquires. You don't position yourself as the solution. And then lastly, results, the final third, proof it works. And that's it. Very, very simplistic. But a lot of people don't cover that in content. They talk about, making sure you do carousels, make sure you do some trending audio, make sure you do it with this way. It's like, you need a system. You need a system which self-perpetuates and gets people into this flywheel where if you are drawing more people in by talking about the problems, then you're showing and positioning yourself as the solution. You're showing evidence it works, and you continue to talk about the problems. People just go round and round and round. That creates urgency, and then statistically, it's just a matter of time between people see that, the right people seeing it, and then going to your buyer with inquiry form. Didn't touch on that quickly. Inquiry process, make yourself easily contactable. Inquiry forms, maybe a landing page, WhatsApp. You can have WhatsApp links, but getting really skeptical right now. So, it's the time of filming, it's all 2025 early. So people don't really trust WhatsApp links now. So make sure people can easily message you. I would put a form or something like that in there because some people will fill that out. Some people might not want to DM you. So don't assume, give options and just try and be simplistic as possible. Nothing too fancy here. So, and then obviously the content that resonates draws them into that process. And then that in of itself is going to help to attract and start to generate inquiries. The precision of how well you do this and then how good that looks is a massive factor, obviously. If you get stuck with any of this, obviously you can book a call below. I can help you go through this. Obviously I work one-on-one with clients, but even if you don't want to join, I will help you on that call regardless, because a lot of this needs help with implementation because it's all specific to your market and who you are. But if you do those two right, and plus time, you will start to pull in 2 inquiries a week and then build your audience. Now, to speed that up, we can look at conversations. And this fraction here, basically, 1 out of 20 people will make the first move. 19 out of 20 won't. They'll just watch passively because social media is addictive and we're literally like slugs with goldfish memories. So if you make the first move and start conversations, you're going to increase your chances of people inquiring and just getting to know you. Now, the key is you don't expect it and you don't do it up front. If you treat it like just trying to help people, 0 expectations and just trying to be social or make a connection, you're going to go far. The moment you have a lead list in front of you, the moment you have a spreadsheet where you have a tracker and you're looking at people as wallets or just income balance sheets, or no one looks at it like a balance sheet. What am I saying? If you just see like income above their head and just hunt people for their money, it comes across. And that's why a lot of people hate DMs, and that's why people feel sleazy about this. But it's a social media platform. At the end of the day, it's what it's designed for, particularly the story function. I mean, Instagram's like, the story function is the only reason Instagram exists right now. And it's a huge feature that people love using. So it's a really easy way to kind of naturally flow into a conversation and just talk to people. Now, obviously, if we look at who knows you the most, who's hottest, we've got to start, it's worthwhile starting at the top and working your way down. So people inquiring, that's obvious. You want to help and talk to them, sort them out. And then you can look at polls. So people who are viewing your stories, they're seeing you every 24 hours, they're engaging, they know you the most. They're the market who's probably the hottest. And if you put polls out, quizzes, Q&As, engagement pieces, and they react to it, they are participating. And it's such an obvious way to go from there's a viewer, there's a conversation. It's an easy junction and transfer where you can talk one-on-one with a stranger or with someone who's been watching you, and all of a sudden you can help them, see what you can do. And if they really need help, you can talk about what you can do with your framework. Maybe make that into a video, maybe make that into a PDF, and then just go, well, I'd love to help you. If you want one-on-one help, this is what I do. Does that look interesting? Send it to them. There you go. So that's that. And then stories as well, like off the back of people who aren't engaging in your stories. People, if you swipe up, look who's viewing you. People are viewing every 24 hours. They're more informed about you. Not a bad place to start. Look at their stories, talk about them, see what you can do to make connections. Again, a conversation is going to lodge more in someone's memory than a view, because even if you get views on your content, the view is not 100% of the video. And again, something people really forget and miss. It's probably like 5 seconds, 2 seconds, 12 seconds, I don't know. But people viewing content is not the same as you talking one-on-one and lodging in their memory, making that impression. And then if you can generally help people, it'll go further. Then you got likers, people who engage your content, people who've shown some form of support. Yeah, just want to say, mate, really appreciate the like, put a lot of effort into my content, thank you. And that's it. So just do what you can to thank them, and then you got followers. People follow you for a reason. Recent followers probably more important because there's something to do with intent there. They've recently followed you, why? What can you do to help? What can you do to help? But again, don't expect too much. It's just like a vague signal of like, oh, that seems interesting. If you come in rushing in with a follower, somebody just followed you, you're going to massively put them off. So start at the top, work your way down. This is another area of potential. 1 out of 20 people won't. If you make the effort and reach the other 19 people out of 20, you're more likely to find this in time. Not immediately, in time. But that's something you can actively do and put more effort into alongside the content. That will speed this process up. And then lastly, the probably main limiting factor of a lot of people will probably be eyeballs. So once you got this in practice and it's flowing, you might need just more people looking at you, more people seeing you. I don't know what your audience size is. It depends. As I said, my client got to 20K per month with an audience size of 2,700. And one of the main reasons we did that is we collaborated with clients. So we systematically had a system where I gave them a strategy where every week we put results up, we put storyboards, we put carousel posts up, we got collaborations, and then we started to mine their audiences, because in their audience they have higher trust because they know the person. So when they see the person, they see our name at the top, they come through to us, and off the back of that, we know that they can come through with either one of these methods, and we have different ways and different messages and different ways to approach each one of these depending on their interest level. Again though, this is literally just the traffic, it's the volume. Once you've got the system, you need to plug people into it, and you'll find that I know for a fact you can improve elements of here with my help, but with this, you need to start putting people into the mechanism at some point, because look, you can convert and tweak this and improve it by 5%, but what's going to make a difference? Another 50,000 people per month seeing you through other people's networks. Short form content is another way for you to do this on your own. So obviously the shorter the video, the easier it is to watch. Watch time is the main thing, which pushes reach. So if you create smaller videos that have higher intent around the problems and then draw people in to this framework, you're more likely to get exposure. And off the back of that, you can boost posts, then you can do ads. So boost posts, mainly focus on what works. With ads, you can have a bit more of a tactical thing. Won't go into ads in this. You don't need ads to get towards 10K, but some people might like to use them. I don't typically use them with the vast majority of my clients, but they can speed things up if you want to speed things up. And again, it comes down to the targeting and lookalike audiences and making sure that your positioning and offers on point, because anyone coming off ads, they don't know you, they haven't seen any of this, they're definitely not here, they're not conditioned, so they're purely coming in on offer. They're very, very, very fickle people. But anyway, just want to give you an overview of how everything works and what steps you need to take, and then what your targets are, and then ways to actually fulfill action and how to refine it. As I said, a lot of this comes down to implementation. If you get stuck with any of it, you can book in a call below. We can go through a conversation. I can explain exactly what you need to do in each of these stages from my perspective, working with over 400 people. Hope that helps. See you in the next one.